going on, everybody? Welcome on in, guys. We have a very special interview today with our man, Parker Porter. If you don't know who this man is, you better lock in here very, very quickly. This man is not only a legend in the UFC, but he is an undefeated BKFC fighter who will be headlining BKFC Fight Night this Saturday, December 20th at the Mohegan Sun. So without any further ado, Parker Porter, welcome into the show, man. It's been a long time
What's
since
up,
we've
guys?
seen you, but it's good to see you. How things been?
It's good to be back. I've been busy, man. Life has been going good, but it's just been one thing after another, busy, busy, busy. And I'm looking forward to things slowing down for a little bit during the holidays.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, man, we last time you and I talked, obviously it was a little bit right before your first BKFC fight there in February. So the last time we talked, there was obviously some question marks coming up from the UFC, and will the change be different? And the family was a little bit nervous about maybe some of the bare knuckles and all that different stuff. But you go out there in 44 seconds, you get things done there against Chase Gormley. But one thing you brought up was your comfortability with your hands. Did you feel comfortable pretty quickly on? Obviously, it only took 44 seconds, so it couldn't have took that long. But how'd you feel, and how have you felt since then?
I've felt great, and I feel better and better each time I do this, man. The training for it's been awesome. Making like the small adjustments of like doing more pad work with no gloves on, a little bit more conditioning stuff. That the hands feel sharp, they feel good. Training's been awesome. I can't complain. I love this shit.
Love to hear it. And once again, bringing up the family. I know it's a major support system for you. The wife, the kids, they've always supported you through the entire journey. How have they kind of transferred into this whole BKFC thing? Are they getting cool with it now? Are they kind of like, hey, you know what? If it's bare, but it's 44 seconds, we can live with it. How they like it over there in the
they're
BKFC?
getting behind it more and more. They're getting more excited for me. They're seeing the potential that I see, and they're behind me 100%, even more so than they have been in the past. They've never not supported me, but to see my older boys get as excited about it as they have been lately, and for my wife to be they're just as excited as I am. So it's been really nice.
I wanted to bring this up, and I don't know if I'm jumping the gun here, but stylistically, Garrett brings kind of a different feel to the game here. When I look at bare knuckle film, I'm generally looking at it like it's closer to boxing than anything else, but there are some like really key differences, and there are some rule differences too, right?
Right.
But just generally against Garrett, I mean, this guy's a little taller. He's got a little bit of a reach advantage. I mean, you've had a wide range of opponents in the UFC and in BKFC. Anything stylistically that's a new look that Garrett brings that you haven't seen before, or anything that a film study, you're just like, man, that's new. I got to prepare for this.
No, nothing that I haven't seen or experienced before in terms of my entire combat sports career. Um, you know, Same as myself. Like he doesn't have a lot of film on himself, even though he's got 3 fights and I've only got 2. We have about the same amount of time in the ring, and I'm not seeing anything that I've never seen before. So I'm feeling pretty confident about knowing how to handle what he brings to the table.
I love it. I love it. And obviously, fight's a fight, man. But you fought in a few different promotions, in MMA and now in BKFC. Is there any key difference? I mean, obviously, when you make the jump from a regional promotion to an organization like the UFC, yeah, you're going to see a talent difference big time. But aside from that, now going into a totally different, not just MMA to BKFC, but in your early days training boxing and training boxing while you were in the UFC versus now, what are the key differences you've noticed? We'll say for now, from UFC to BKFC, stylistic aside, what's the difference that you notice the most?
Well, training your boxing for MMA is a lot different than training your boxing for regular boxing or bare knuckle boxing, because the first thing that you can really change up is the stance. I don't have to worry about getting kicked in the leg. I can get a wider, stockier stance. I can bend my knees. I can dip my head a lot more from a defensive standpoint, without having to worry about getting kneed in the face or kicked in the head or anything like that. So that changes things up. But in terms of how I've been changing up my boxing training. It's been a lot more work in the clinch because of the BKFC dirty boxing allowance. So that changes things where a lot of guys that come from a more traditional boxing background don't have a significant amount of experience in what to do in the clinch, specifically staying there and staying active. It's more like a quick short shot and explode out or wrap up to try and catch your breath from a defensive standpoint. And it's not as active. So that's been a game changer. I think it's been an advantage of mine actually coming from an MMA background where you can do whatever you want in the clinch. You can stay there as long as you want.
Yeah, for sure. People write off, and I don't know why. I mean, I think it's kind of making a popularity comeback of late, but people write off judo, Greco-Roman wrestling, and all of that, especially in preparation for MMA. It's kind of just like, scholastic wrestling, jiu-jitsu, or both. And no one really factors in that judo background, but I can imagine it's a huge advantage in the clinch, even if you're not throwing anybody, but you're shifting weight so that there's no cheap punches in the clinch and all that. That's a huge help as well. I'm gonna pivot just a little bit here. Give me your feel on the differences here. Fighting in the Apex, fighting at a live UFC event at a numbered card or something, and fighting in BKFC with the crowd, with the fans, with the emotions, with how big the event is, what it feels like when you step in the ring versus stepping in the octagon. Give me your thoughts there and what the differences are.
I mean, the biggest difference is between all three of those. The Apex is very, very weird feeling, especially when you're used to even having more people in a crowd, even on a local level, without stepping all the way up to a big arena like Mohegan Sun or a numbered UFC fight card. So that was a really kind of strange thing. I think I actually had more people at my very first professional MMA fight than were actually in the building for the Apex for my debut with the UFC. So it doesn't compare. That's not even in the same category. It's apples to oranges. A numbered card with the UFC, with the crowd, with the fans, and then BKFC at Mohegan, especially being in my own hometown with so much support. Hearing that entire stadium kind of chant your name and scream and go wild, it's like there's electricity in the air. And if you're like myself, you feed off of that. So it whether they're booing or whether they're cheering, it's gonna strike something and stir something up in you that you're gonna make sure you use properly in the fight.
It's electricity, man. It really is. It's a transfer of energy for sure. And I've seen pretty much every one of your fights, man. And I'm curious. BKFC's been short work for you. You definitely don't get paid by the hour, which is good. So,
Right.
I want to know. I gotta ask without giving too much away, but who knows? Is there anything you've been really wanting to showcase in BKFC that you just haven't had the chance to yet? That maybe we'll get to look for in this Garrett fight.
No, nothing really jumps out at me in terms of like specific stuff that I want to showcase. Other than just I'm here, man. Like I'm a force to be reckoned with. I'm putting the heavyweight division on notice. I'm coming after that belt. So there's not really anything specific skill set wise that I'm like, oh, look at this or oh, look at that. I'll show you when I get to it.
Love it.
Well, Parker, I got to ask you, man. Obviously, looking at Anthony Garrett, this is another dude who, we're talking about 44-second knockouts for you. He's over there doing the same kind of thing. This dude's probably coming in here to thinking, okay, well, this is probably going out maybe in one round. I guess we could see two, but this is probably not going to be the longest fight of the night. I don't think you guys are going to hold down that award here at the end of this thing. So I do want to ask you, if you don't mind me asking, can we get a prediction from you on how this one's going to end? Can you give me a round? Can you give me a method? How are you feeling about it?
I'm gonna say it's gonna be a first or second round, like late in the first or second round, early in the second round, TKO, KO. He comes to bang. I've seen him get dropped and get back up. We've seen me get dropped and get back up. So it's gonna be. I don't know that it's necessarily going to be a matter of like who's going to drop somebody more. It's going to be who's going to actually switch that off switch.
And yeah, I've gotta follow that up a little bit too, because just based on a few of the answers and what we've been talking about. I mentioned earlier, there's a height and a reach difference. That's not a big deal. You've seen that before. But especially in boxing, I'd say a little bit more than MMA. You gotta, and especially at a heavier weight, when a guy has that much of a height advantage, it's usually like 5, 6 inches and up, right? Like once you're at that number, you're going to see more stuff up the middle, typically a lot of
Yep.
uppercuts, a little bit of a different angle. But a lot of times guys get lazy with their chin when they're a lot taller. They kind of look down and over you, and it leaves a lot of shots open, coming from under, right? Up the middle for you as well. It's just harder to get the reach up there. So in a heavyweight bout, 5-inch height, 5-inch reach, are you expecting a lot up the middle from this guy? And give me what your plan is on how to take this dude down.
I'm expecting him to be as intelligent about this as he can. If he's playing a smart game, yeah, he's going to be coming right up the middle. He's going to be sticking to his guns and really trying to throw everything I've seen from him in the past, like myself. He throws every shot with power, with intention to hurt and do harm every time. So if it does get out of the first, I think I'll have the advantage cardio wise. That's something that's always been a landmark for me, being a bigger guy, even when I was much more overweight. Good gas tank, and I don't know that it's necessarily a gas tank so much as it is just a will to keep going. So I think we'll see more shots out of him, trying to be straighter, trying to be right down the middle. But yeah, like you mentioned with that chin thing, he's got to be really careful about that, because my almost my signature punch is that overhand, and I find a home for it almost every time.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to the overhand. I like it. I gave one of your former colleagues a little beef about that once, and I think it's a little too soon for me to make the joke. But yeah, no, Royval, on one of our first interviews, I told him, like, dude, I know you're 125, but you leave that thing up in the air. And he said something to the effect of, he goes, yeah, they hit me, I always get clipped, but I got a chin, man. So,
Nice.
so yeah, I get that. You can't have that attitude at heavyweight in BKFC.
No, you can't.
Definitely not. But yeah, all goes well, Colton, this weekend. I know you don't usually do call outs, but I mean, it's a short list to the top of who you've taken out so far. Is Big Ben next?
I would love that. We'll see what goes on. They just made the announcement about him versus Arlovsky. So we're going to have to see whoever comes out on top with that. And regardless of whether it's Ben or regardless of whether it's Arlovsky, I would like to be the next in line.
Yeah, I think that's the case, man. I think everyone's rooting for that. And yeah, we're looking for that knockout this weekend. And yeah, as for technique, stylistic stuff, there's one other thing, and I'll leave you at this because I think this is, even though it's a little old news, it's worth mentioning for sure. After your first fight in BKFC, you had been training MMA most of your life. And this is the first time you trained, going back a year ago, to go into a BKFC fight. What was the difference in your training, the key number one thing that you picked up on, or more than one if you have it, from training to your first fight to after getting that knockout and going back into training for your second fight?
Probably just training more like a boxer, specifically really trying to get the footwork going really, really smooth. It's one thing that I see is like the end all beat all that separates the good from the great and the great from the elite, especially at the heavyweight division. A lot of guys just like to plant and throw as hard as they can. I still want to plant and throw, but as soon as I throw, I want to be able to move. So that's been the biggest probably change and adjustment from the first fight to the second, and then continuing on forward with it. Always trying to get better with that.
Parker, I got to ask you, man, you're such a nice guy. It's hard for me to sit here and think that there's going to be too much animosity here, but we have heard Anthony Garrett talking, and we, as a matter of fact, will be chatting with him as well before this fight. So I just wanted to ask if there was anything that you might want to say to him, maybe a little message we could relay for you, anything to respond to anything that he's been saying right now on social.
No, I saw the same kind of thing. He his message to me was, let's put on a show, and I couldn't agree more. Let's put on a freaking great spectacle of a fight. Let's give these fans what they came here for, and let's have some fucking fun doing it.
Love it. Well, my man, I got to ask you, as always, I know you got some great sponsors, great family. Any shout outs, anything you want to say to your people?
Yeah, of course. Thank you to my family for always backing me up. My coaches and corners, Dan Frazick and Ed Thornton. Special thank you to my sponsors for this fight coming up. We got Whipping Waters Lure Company. We got Jolly Joel Salmon Eggs, Smart Care Exteriors, Miss Coffee Bakery, Crush Baseball. That's a good one. It's a great foundation. Working on some scholarships for the kids with stuff. Ronnie's Rounds, Family's Pizza in Niantic, Savvy's Auto, and then of course Casa Havana Cigar Lounge. Thank you guys all for getting behind me for this fight and giving me your support.
Parker Porter MMA is his tagline there on Instagram, guys. Make sure to give him a follow. Once again, December 20th at the Mohegan Sun. If you're out in Connecticut, you got to pull up. But if not, man, go ahead, guys. Make sure you're watching these fights. I'm sure the highlights are going to be up on BKFC's socials as well. So, guys, make sure to give them a follow, my man. We do truly wish you the best of luck. We always appreciate your time here. Edward Boylan, myself, Rick Tamburo, and Parker Porter, my man. Good luck. Talk to you soon. Looking to make it a continued undefeated streak, guys. So take care, my man, and good luck.